1 month ago I released my third game, a tactical gladiator roguelike called Mortal Glory 2. I know many of you are curious about how well the game has sold so far, so yeah, in this video I will tell you exactly how much the game has sold in 1 month. Then I will talk about what the numbers actually mean. Of course, I will also give my own opinions on the numbers and how well the numbers compare to the numbers of my previous games. First of all, if you're only curious about the main numbers, here is the big one. So, how many gross sales the game had in its first month, and here are the total wishlist just before the release, and as a funny comparison number, here are the total wishlists 1 month before the release. So for those who are only curious about the main numbers, well, thank you for watching, and for the rest, let's dig in a bit deeper. Alright, so I'm in the Steam backend now, and I released my game on the 4th of March, so I counted exactly 30 days from that date. And yeah, as you can see, here is the number I just showed you, which amounts to almost 7,500 of copies sold. As you can see, I also gained a bit over 7,000 wishlists after the release, which is of course very nice. Then here's the sales chart. I don't know how to describe it really. I really like the first 3 days, but yeah, after that it's not quite so pretty. But I mean, I don't know if I would really expect it to be any different either. Of course, it would always be nice if it stayed up for longer, but I think the more interesting graph will be the next months, like how big the next peaks will be, and then kind of like where the daily sales settle. Then here's the region spread. So I had my game localized before release, I think something like 8 or 9 languages, I can't remember for sure, but US is first and then China is a very close second. I had simplified Chinese localization in the game, so obviously that was very much worth it. And that is not a surprise, because in the prequel game Mortal Glory 1, the Chinese players were also a very big proportion of the player base, so yeah. And then quite far behind the top 2 we have some other countries here. I don't really have anything special to say about those, maybe with the exception that Finland is maybe higher than normal here because I am Finnish myself, so yeah, that might explain it. And then, what do the numbers actually mean? But before that, a quick promo. I also have a Patreon account where I share the sales numbers monthly. So if you're curious about how the sales for Mortal Glory 2 develop over time, or for any of my previous games, then yeah, hey, go check it out. I have the link in the description. The Patreon page will likely be the only place I will share the numbers after this video. Alright, so what do the numbers actually mean? I pulled up Excel to help me a bit with this. So first, from the total number we need to deduct the returns, chargebacks and sales taxes. And when I account those in, I'm left with around $50,000, so, which is around 81% of the gross amount. So my game has around, let's see, 13.2% return rate, which is a bit above the average, I believe, but it's not really crazy high either. Yeah, I'm not really worried about it. So based on that, I would say this amount and the percentage is about what you would expect. Then from the net amount, you need to deduct Steam's share, which for most games is 30%. So that's around $15,000 out of the pot. And then of course the game wasn't free to make, so I need to deduct the expenses I had to spend to make the game, which in my case luckily weren't quite much. So far I have only paid a bit less than $5,000 for all the costs, most of which is for localization, so translation costs. But this number also isn't the final number, as I still do have some bills to pay for that. If I add those here, I think the end amount will be around 6,500 for all the costs. So yeah, I'll go with that. So if you deduct those, you're left with around 28,600. This is the number that my company gets after the expenses, but it is not the amount of money that I get personally myself. At this point it gets a bit tricky because there are so many ways to utilize that money, and yeah, you cannot really say that okay, this is exactly how much you get yourself. To simplify, I will just use 25% as the amount that I will likely need to pay in taxes in some form or another. So when I factor that in, I am left with around 21,000 of personal profit, which is around 35% of the top gross amount, the highest number that I showed you. So yeah, I mean, this is from 1 month, it is very nice, but yeah, I mean, 35% is not 100%, not even close, so yeah, it would be nice to get more from the total amount, but hey, what can you do? One additional interesting calculation that I could do is to compare this amount to the hours I have put into the game. So yeah, the game just didn't snap out of thin air. I spent quite a bit of time working on it. Overall, I spent almost 1,800 hours on the game. This includes also the hours for making devlogs, but this number does not include all the hours I have spent so far after the release. I felt like I didn't want to spend the time to count the hours after release, so yeah, that's good to take into account. So if we calculate the hourly wage, we get around $12 per hour. And of course, it's good to note this is net wage, so after taxes, and this is only for the first month of sales. So considering that, it's pretty nice, I would say. But of course, considering that the work is quite demanding often, and running a business also comes with many additional risks, so you would want the number to be higher because of those factors. But still, yeah, I'm not disappointed with this number at all, especially since it will just keep going up as the sales keep coming. Then I thought it would be fun to compare the numbers to my previous games, so I have pulled up here my latest games. The second game, Chambers of Devious Design. This game I actually sold for the same price, and as you can see, in its first month it made a bit over $15,000. So a decent amount, but yeah, I think I outsold this game in the first 3 days with Mortal Glory 2, so yeah, the difference is quite big, and I'm quite confident that Mortal Glory 2 will also have a better tail of sales. So yeah, overall, Chambers of Devious Design was kind of a flop, especially compared to my other games. And speaking of other games, here's the first month of sales for Mortal Glory 1. As you can see, it sold 7,200 copies, which totaled to around 53,600. So it's actually very close to the numbers that Mortal Glory 2 got. And when you consider that Mortal Glory 2 is 50% more expensive, so $8 compared to $12, you could argue that Mortal Glory 1 was actually like a better success, especially if you count in that it had only 1,700 wishlist on release, and I only spent like 1,000 hours for the release version. So yeah, accounting those in, I could say that okay, maybe the sequel didn't do quite as well as the first one, but it's still very close. So what are my general thoughts about the numbers? I am very happy with them. I mean, my previous game, Chambers of Devious Design, as I mentioned, it was a financial flop. I spent the same amount of time and more money making that game as I did Mortal Glory 2, and it did a lot worse. So yeah, after that game I was kind of stressed and worried that, okay, do I actually have a future with game development? Because I mean, I got bills to pay, I got a mortgage, I got a 1-year-old toddler to feed, and yeah, I need to make money with my games to actually survive. So one of my main goals with this project was to achieve some sort of financial stability, kind of like even out the scale a bit after my last flop. At least so far have achieved just that with Mortal Glory 2. Of course, I will now have to see like how the sales develop after this. Like, even though the first month was very good, it's not in any way guaranteed that the next months will be good, but of course I am hopeful. Overall, really happy I made the game. I'll also quickly answer a few questions I know that I will get in the comments. One, what are my next plans? Well, I plan to keep working on Mortal Glory 2 for a while. I really don't know what the duration will be, and I might do a DLC also. I think it worked really well with Mortal Glory 1, so yeah, I think that would be fun to do. And I am also very excited to work on my next project, which will not be Mortal Glory related, but yeah, that will still have to wait for a while I keep working on Mortal Glory 2. Then, next question. So, how did I market the game? That is one question I always get. I might do a video about that. I'm still not decided, because I mean, even though I managed to release the game, my life is really hectic still. I'm now spending more time taking care of our 1-year-old toddler, and I also have my hands full pushing the updates to Mortal Glory 2, so I'm not sure if I will actually have the extra time to make that video. In case I don't, I think the best marketing thing I did was to have a successful prequel. So yeah, I think I managed to get quite a bit of wishlists just converting the players from Mortal Glory 1 to wishlist the second one and then actually buy that one. So yeah, there were other things, but I think that was the like most effective thing. If I didn't have the successful prequel, who knows, I don't think the game would have done nearly as well. But yeah, I think those were the things I want to say in this video. If you have any other questions, leave those in the comments. If you have any other comments, leave those also in the comments. I love reading your comments, and the YouTube algorithm also loves seeing your comments or sensing your comments or whatever. So yeah, hey, comment whatever in the comments, and otherwise I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.